check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hey listeners, ever wonder what it would be like to blow up your comfort zone at the tender age of 50? Well, we did just that. When our last kid went off to college, we hit the road in search of a new hometown. Now we bounce from city to city and bring you along for the ride. This is the Skip Town All-Stars podcast.
Welcome back, All-Stars, to the Lake Placid edition of Skip Town. How we doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm so excited to talk about this place because I remember as a young kid watching the Winter Olympics.
I know, and I got a bunch of info on that.
Oh, so this will be fun.
Yeah.
Back in the day when the kids were little, we would always, and we've talked about this before, look at those emails we would get from like Yahoo News or AOL News. Remember AOL News? Oh, I really dated myself.
You did.
I really did. And it always had the 10 prettiest cities or 5 safest cities, and it never failed. There was always a city in upstate New York. It was usually Albany, but there was always a city there. And so we both were looking forward to driving through it, stopping, having lunch somewhere. And we did that. We stopped in a couple of places in upstate New York and just had lunch or grabbed a bite to eat. And then we ended up staying in Lake Placid. So it really was everything I thought it was going to be, honestly. Every photo I've ever seen, every article I've ever read, Northern New York, upstate New York, it was great.
It was. And we rolled up into town, and right away, though, we were kind of met with sort of a mishmash of, you could tell places were lodge-centric or sort of Airbnbs. Like, you could tell the houses that are mostly, you could tell they just rent out, the property or
that's
whatever.
That's like every place,
versus,
though.
I know. But there were some really amazing houses around the lake. Mirror Lake, I think.
Yeah, no, it's Mirror Lake. Yeah. Because when you come into town, you're immediately met with this beautiful lake and everything surrounds a lake. So as a tourist, you think, oh, Lake Placid.
Yeah.
And you quickly learn it's not Lake Placid. It's actually Mirror Lake.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous. So the way the restaurants are situated, you can sit on the deck of almost any restaurant and have a beautiful view of this lake. If you live on the West Coast, I would equate it to Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
That's how it really looks. It's surrounded by
comparison.
pine trees. The water is blue. The houses are picture perfect with a beautiful little dock. I mean, that is really how Lake Mirror looks in downtown Lake Placid. And it's not just the restaurants that have a beautiful view of the lake. It's also the clothing stores, it's little coffee shops. They really do situate the town for the view. I was like, oh my God. Even the stores across from the lake were elevated. Just like some of them were elevated on the mountain. So you could turn around and see the lake. It was quite pretty.
Yeah. And the walk through downtown, the little Main Street area was fantastic.
Okay. That again looked like something out of a magazine, right?
Did.
Like it looked like something, would you see photos of Aspen or Park City or Vail? It looked like that.
You found a little excursion for yourself and Patrick, though. Why don't we talk about that?
Okay. So when we got there, I was super excited because I did not realize these places that host the Olympics end up keeping the facilities.
They turn it into training centers.
When we got to Lake Placid, I thought, I wonder if they're doing the same here. And sure enough, they were. So here's what I did immediately. I called the Lake Placid Welcome Center.
Yep.
And I asked them if the ice rink had figure skating, training going on for the Olympics. And they did. But at the time that I was calling, we had just missed it. So then she said, okay, then you should go to Lake Placid Ski Jumping Center. Everybody there is training for the Olympics. Well, we're going in September. There's no snow. So I'm thinking to myself, how do you practice that in September when it's 80 degrees out? In a pool.
Yeah.
In a pool. So I have this on my social media if you want to take a look, and we have it on YouTube Shorts, where the kids, and they're young kids. I mean, the ages for that was probably, 14 to 17. And they were going down a little ski ramp that curved up at the bottom.
Right.
And they were doing their flips and everything in the air with their skis on, landing in a pool. So it was like an Olympic swimming pool, and they were landing with their skis on in the pool. It was the craziest thing. I mean, I could not believe it. And then you take the ski lift up to the top of the mountain, and now this is the speed. Like, this is where they're doing 1,000 miles an hour down the ramp, and then they shoot like a rocket. And then you know how their body's like all angled and their skis are up. Okay. They land on AstroTurf.
No way.
They're going 1,000 miles an hour and they land on AstroTurf.
Are they fully clothed?
They are
because
fully
if they
clothed.
wipe out, they're going to get turf burn like big time.
Oh, they're going to have skin ripped off.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're completely from head to toe. It was really crazy because you're watching the Olympic hopefuls. It was incredible. And then we came down, what do I say? One of the trainees was flying through the air. Well, we didn't know if it was a boy or girl. And we get to the bottom and her parents are waiting there for her. And she takes her goggles off, her hat, everything. And it's like a 16-year-old girl. I said to her, I looked at her, I go, that was incredible. You're amazing. And you know what she said? She's like, oh, I could have done better. Or something. She said something like, it was just like
a true athlete.
I know, it was just like, she does smile. She's like, like that. And her parents are like, like they both.
We've seen better.
I was like, oh my God, this is why she's doing this. This is why she's doing this. So it was pretty darn incredible.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Olympics, shall we?
Oh, yeah.
Because, hey, there's no better reason to go to Lake Placid than to relive the 1980 Winter Olympics.
Yep. How old were you?
10. I was 10 years old.
Yeah, I was 11.
So for all you Gen Xers right now, we're going to walk you down memory lane to a time when Reagan had just taken office. And it's really important to sort of emphasize just how at odds we were with Russia at this point. Rocky IV had not come out yet.
Oh.
No, Rocky IV didn't come out, I think, for another 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was really like the pinnacle.
Oh,
like,
yeah. When Rocky
like
fought.
No, yeah. When Hollywood's like, no, really, Russia, we hate you. You know?
I have a confession.
What's your confession?
Never seen any Rocky movie ever.
You've never seen any Rocky movie?
Not a single one.
Oh my goodness.
Why? That's like child abuse. What? I have to have a talk with your mom.
I mean, I was born in '87, so like it was already over.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess
By the
that's
time,
true.
You know,
Yeah.
I was even old enough
Your
to
first
watch
indoctrination was like Rocky 5 or 6.
Yeah, he had
or
like
whatever.
a robot or something.
Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was Rocky 4. He had a robot actually.
Okay, well then I
Yeah.
did see that part.
I think it's time.
Maybe we need to have a watch party.
I think so.
I think so. You definitely got to watch 1 through 4.
Look, I had to watch a whole bunch of hood movies and church movies. So ask me about Baby Boy. Ask me about Don't
Friday.
Be a Menace, Friday. I got you on those. But you asked me about Miracle. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so first let me just say it's not like the U.S. Olympics now where they allow professional athletes to play. So you see the dream team for basketball, Michael Jordan, then LeBron James, then Kobe Bryant. All those guys all played for, it never used to be that way. So in the United States, the rules were you could not be a professional athlete and participate in the Olympics.
That for years.
So our hockey
That
team...
just changed recently, like in the 90s or something, right?
I think it was in the 90s, yeah. Our hockey team was comprised of college kids and amateurs, like guys that would play, sort of minor league hockey.
Like
or
plumbers.
Yeah, they probably had to support themselves.
Okay.
They probably had a side hustle.
Got it.
While pursuing their hockey dreams and trying to get into the National Hockey League. So
Got it.
let me put it to you like this. And I'm kind of fast forwarding to the end a little bit, but we won 6 gold medals in this particular Olympics. And 5 of them were won by Eric Heiden, the speed skater.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he set a lot of records. He was an amazing athlete. And actually, side note, he's actually a physician for the U.S. speed skating team now. He wanted
to be a doctor?
He practiced medicine. Yeah, like he practices medicine. He's like the team doctor for the skating team, for
That's
the speed
crazy.
skating. I know, isn't that awesome? All right, so leading up to this game, the Russian team actually had an exhibition match, again, like Rocky IV, with the U.S. team at Madison Square Garden, like a couple months before this Olympics.
Okay.
And they beat the U.S. team 10-3.
Oh.
So, whenever they put those pools together, there's always one team that sucks.
Ours was ours.
And we were supposed to be the team that lost to everybody, I think. So that set them on a track to play the Russians
For the gold.
to be able to be in the game for the gold. Now, a lot of people, that's a mistake. A lot of people think that we beat the Russians for the gold. We did not. We actually beat them to advance in our pool to play Sweden. I think it was Sweden the next week. We actually had to play another team after that. And that's when we won the gold.
Wow, I thought this whole time that they won the gold by beating the Russians.
They did not.
That is crazy. But
Yeah.
it was such a big upset that it took over. It overshadowed who they really played to win the gold.
Yeah. So they actually had to play Sweden the next game, and that's how they won the gold. And they handled Sweden, no problem. But what was great about the game, like facts that I didn't know, interesting stuff, is the game had already been over for an hour. But because of the way they had to broadcast the game, Americans were seeing it. Like, you could never have gotten away with this today because social media, it would have just exploded all over social media before it ever was broadcast, but it was pre-recorded.
I thought it was live also.
Yeah. And then the Soviets, being huge favorites, everybody realized in the crowd that the Soviets could just break this thing open at any point and score 5 goals like they had done at Madison Square Garden a couple months ago. And
so it was coming. Like,
yeah.
everyone was like, this is coming.
And so another fact about the game is that everybody said, oh, the crowd was so wild, the crowd was so loud and all this stuff. That's factually incorrect. The crowd was quiet most of the game. It wasn't until 12 minutes left in the third period where the U.S. tied 3-3 that the crowd realized, oh my gosh, we could actually beat these guys. Like, we could actually win this game.
That's when they went crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So what was the score?
The final score was 4-3. So when the U.S. scored that go-ahead goal, they had to hold on until the very end. I think there were a few minutes left or what have you. And then after that, Lake Placid emptied out and it was berserk and everybody was celebrating there in town. But, our collective memory says we were celebrating too, but we weren't. Yeah.
They still, to this day, if you go to Lake Placid, it is very much about that hockey team there.
You got to get your merch.
Yes. Yeah. So I remember seeing posters of him. Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they actually, even to your point, they renamed the Lake Placid Olympic Center rink the Herb Brooks Arena in 2005 after Coach Brooks.
Nice.
So who coached that legendary team.
I think the show is over. We're done. It was literally the hockey team is all we're going to talk about.
We're not, actually. There are things to do if you go to visit Lake Placid that we didn't get to do because it wasn't winter. For instance, Mirror Lake has a 2-mile loop that you can skate 24/7. You can go any time of the day and skate this 2-mile loop if you want.
Skate it with what?
Ice skating in the winter. The town cleans the track. The town actually cleans off the track.
So if you want to do a skate at 3 a.m?
Yep. A 2-mile skate.
Oh, okay. If you get up at 3 a.m,
what could go wrong, right?
If you get up at 3 a.m, you know who you're skating with, right?
Ooh, like creepy people.
No, you're skating with
with the actual athletes.
Yeah,
you're right.
Skating before school starts.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
Okay,
so ice skating around the lake.
Ice skating around the lake. There's also a toboggan chute that is converted ski jump. And I would love to do this. This would be awesome.
Crazy.
It sends you and your sled all the way down to Mirror Lake, and you can slide over 1,000 feet out onto the ice. Pretty awesome. That's a sled ride.
That's dangerous.
It is, and it sounds amazing.
No, I'm not doing
You would
that.
not do
I'll
that.
I'll ice skate with the Olympic hopefuls. I'm not tobogganing in the air across the city.
Okay, so let's talk real quick. Lake Placid demographic statistics. 2,300 of the whitest people you'll ever see in your life.
Legitimately, because they don't. I mean, the sun is out, but nobody's sunbathing.
Yeah, it's 30 days a night up there, I think, in the winter. And so overall cost of living is lower, but the cost of groceries is higher. A little more trucking involved to get all your groceries up there in the mountains. Median home cost is around $325,000. That seems low, doesn't it?
I would agree. It's not a cheap place to live.
It's not, but
I mean, if you want a house that's falling down for $350,000, you can find it.
I mean, it's probably an old house, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath type house.
Yeah.
And has probably been rented out for about 40 years.
Yeah, agreed.
Kind of thing.
Agreed.
Speaking of rent for a studio to a 2-bedroom usually runs $900 to $2,000 a month, which does not seem high, but let's factor in that many of the people working up there are in the tourism industry, probably not getting paid, 6 figures a year.
Yeah.
Ski instructors are probably making a little more, but how much more?
Right.
So it is, I think, all in all, it kind of evens out.
Okay.
I found a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house on 7 acres for around $500,000. And I thought that was a good price.
That is a good price.
But I also found a 600 square foot house on 5 acres for $400K. So property ranges very wildly.
600 square feet. Was that a double wide? I bet you it was.
It was like a 1-bedroom house.
600 square feet.
600
That's
square
like
feet.
nothing.
Yeah. And then, obviously Mirror Lake ranges from like lakefront property is 1.2 to $8 million, depending on how much you have lying around in the bank.
The 1.2 on Mirror Lake has got to be tiny.
Small.
Yes, because all those houses were magnificent and Mirror Lake is beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a fun fact. Do you know who started basically the winter sports there?
I do know because I found it in my research.
Are you
but
serious?
I'm going to yield. You tell everyone.
Melville Dewey,
Yep.
who invented the Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah.
So he invented that, and then he came to Lake Placid and started to cultivate winter sports there. And he soaked a lot of money into it.
Yeah. And for you pop music fans out there, Lana Del Rey is from Lake Placid.
Get out of here.
Straight up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good find. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
So that's it. I think I'm good on Lake Placid. How about you?
Could you live there?
It's so beautiful and it's so alluring. But then at the same time, it's kind of like, well, okay, we've been here 4 months. Now what do we do? You know?
And New York is really far.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, let's just take a train to New York. It's hours.
Yeah. And you don't snowmobile anymore. And I don't ski anymore.
No.
So,
No.
you know.
I know. What would we do during the winter?
I know.
God, you get only
We'd be the worst kind of like residents there.
There's only so many
They'd be like,
snowmen you
does
can
anyone
make.
see the Gordons? We should do a welfare check on them up there on Gordon Mountain, for crying out loud.
I know you'd be typing. What's that? What's in the Shining? No, was he typing?
Oh yeah.
What was he
All
typing?
work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
You'd be typing that all winter, and I'd be out trying to like make another snowman. Come out here. Come out here.
Come on, we need some fresh air.
Yeah,
You're
you'd
like,
like
I
that.
don't want it.
No, yeah. I don't know. I liked it, but I feel the same way as you do. It was a little too far out.
I know there are people that are going to hear this and be like, what do you mean there's nothing to do? There's so much outdoor activity here.
It is.
And that's true. There's a lot of hiking and all that other stuff.
Buy yourself a Subaru,
Yeah.
load up, and go to Lake Placid and have a
But
lot
once
of
in
fun.
a while, you want a nice hoagie or something like a New York deli sandwich. And, where are you going to find that there?
Got to go further south.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think that's going to do it for this week. What do
I
you say?
think so as well.
Okay. Let's take them out.
Empty nest, full tank.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.